Division 24. Division 24. Are there any clubs that are on now in Division 24 that would like to bring greetings at this point? We move to 23 then, and we go to 23 East. Those clubs in 23 East that would like to bring greetings at this point. West, 23 West, sorry.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
This is DP Audrey from the Kiwanian Club of the Sunshine City, Portmore. I want to wish all Kiwanians a very prosperous new year. And there are two of us at this time, myself and Kiwanian Thomas. We are expecting others and we are anticipating a very good meeting. All the very best. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
I'm DP Jennifer from the Kiwanian Club of Greater Portmore. I haven't seen anyone else on just yet. I'm wishing you guys a happy new year. All the best for 2023. I hope to enjoy your meeting.
Good. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Yes.
Are you hearing?
We are hearing you. I am at least.
Thank you. Thank you. This is Bridget Hosang from the Kiwanis Club of New Kingston. I'm the chair for the fundraising committee. Happy New Year to all the Kiwanians here. We are happy for the invite. Thank you so much and for allowing us to participate in your meeting this evening. We wish you all the very best and a very good meeting. My contingent this evening is 4, including DP Judith Douglas, our bulletin editor, Jadine Henriquez, and our chair for Interclub, Cillian Barkley. We wish you a very good meeting. Thank you for having us.
And thank you for attending. Any other from Division 23 Central? 23 Central.
Good evening. I am Martin Rose, the PR chair for the Kiwanis Club of West St. Andrew. And I have our fundraising chair, Mr. Monique Yetman, online, and another Kiwanian, and we're also expecting one other.
Good.
We hope you have a productive meeting. Happy New Year.
We sure will have a productive meeting, and we thank you for attending. Any other from Division 23 Central? Division 23 Central.
Good evening, Kenisha Palmer from 23 East. 3 of us are now on. Expecting more to join shortly.
Okay. And good evening to you, and thank you for coming as well. 23 Central. Great. What about our SLPs? Any SLP online at this point? We'd like to bring greeting. SLP.
There are none present.
There are none. Okay. Anybody else online that would like to bring greetings? Are there any other online that would like to bring greetings at this point?
Good day.
Yes.
Good day. Yeah, G. Willie. This is Paul Woodasey. I'm calling from Georgia, USA.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to be online. Yeah. And I am really elated to see that the technology has gone so far. Being the first charter president for the first online club, which was East Charlton. All right. And I've seen that has now taken off and has reached a new limit. I'm here anyway, however, representing my mother club, which I'm
Yes.
still a part member of Kiwani's Club of Concern Spirit. I'm so happy to be online. It's my break time, so I was able to attend the meeting. I'm looking forward to a good meeting, and I hope you all the best.
Right. And all the best to you.
Mr. President, I'd like
Not hearing the president.
I realize he's out, but this is Kiwanian Marlon Martin. I want to say Happy New Year to the Kiwanis Club and the members that are here with us. And I want to make special note of 4 of my colleagues that are joining me out of Barbados. I have with me Rhonda from Barbados, and I have Jacqueline from Trinidad with me. So I just want to welcome them. And my wife and daughter is with me tonight as well. So just to welcome my colleagues from across the Caribbean that are joining me online as we speak. Thank you.
Sorry. Fellow Kiwanian, sorry, I just muted myself. Thanks for the introduction of your guest, Kiwanian Marlon. Always a pleasure to have you. And it's good to see you in holidaying in Jamaica.
Thank you, sir.
I see our club coach, DP Rosemary Heaven on the call. I don't know if she wanted to say a word. Rosemary, do you want to bring greetings? All right. Feeling that at this time, I'm just going to apologize for absence for Lieutenant Governor-elect Desmond Batchelor, Distinguished Past Director Garfield Wynn, and Treasurer Orville Lewis. Are there any other apologies? There have been no other apologies, and I will turn the meeting over to VP Stephen Gregg, who will recognize members with birthdays and anniversaries and guests. Over to you, Stephen.
VP Willie, sorry, I was trying to unmute, but I was having a problem. So I would just like to say it is a pleasure to be joining you this evening for your meeting. I know I've been missing in action a bit because sometimes it is my club meeting and because of work commitments, but I'm very pleased to be here this evening. Thank you for recognizing me.
You're very welcome, DP Rosemary. At this time, we can now invite VP Stephen to recognize birthdays and anniversaries.
Sure. Thank you, DLG, Willie. I'd also like to take the opportunity personally to wish all our my fellow Kiwanians, guests, a prosperous 2023. Wish you that good health and good wealth, and for you to attain your Kiwanian goals as you look forward to the year ahead. At this juncture of the meeting, usually we have birthdays and anniversaries that we celebrate and recognize. I'd like to just open it up if there's anybody who, Kiwanian guests, anybody who's on the meeting who is celebrating a birthday or wedding anniversary, birth in the family that they would like to share with us. Opening it up because we'd like to also join in the celebration. That is anybody who's having a birthday this week. Let's start with birthdays. Anybody celebrating a birthday this week that we'd like to recognize? Anybody with wedding anniversaries?
Good evening,
Yes,
everyone.
good evening. Oh,
Yes, go ahead, please.
DP Jennifer from the Kiwanis Club of Greater Portmore. I will be celebrating my birthday on Friday.
Hey,
Thank you, DP Jennifer. Happy birthday when that comes, and give thanks that you're able to see another year, and look forward to many, many more years celebrating.
Thank you.
Life is a gift. No, nothing is guaranteed. So every day is a gift from God.
Yes. And I'll be celebrating with a sad note because I lost my brother suddenly on
The
December.
lights. Turn on the lights.
Sorry. DP Stewart, you might have to mute. Can you repeat that again, Jennifer? You said your brother passed away recently, so there's a tinge of sadness in your celebration. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. But, may his soul rest in peace, and I'm sure you'll continue the family legacy in your own capacity.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else celebrating a birthday this week? Going once, twice. Okay, so that's going to round up this part of the board of the meeting. I look forward
actually, Kiwani, Stephen,
yes,
I had wanted to. Good evening, everyone. This is Carlo Mason.
Yes, Carlo, go ahead.
I just wanted to indicate that I think I was married on the same day that that Miss Daly was born, because on Friday I will be celebrating 21 years of marriage.
Lucky Friday.
Lucky Friday indeed.
And your wife's name, so that we
My
can.
wife's name her name is Carrie Ann.
Carrie Ann. So
Yes,
Carl and
typical
Carrie Ann,
Jamaican
21 years.
21 years.
Yes, congratulations. That is a milestone in itself.
Indeed.
Indeed. Thanks for sharing, and wishing you all the best when that day comes around. Make sure that you have a lovely gift to give your wife and ahead of time.
It's called myself.
I like that. I hope she feels the same way. So,
she better.
You're saying, Carlo, go ahead, or you're finished.
I was saying that she better feel the same way.
We'll see, we'll see. So, Chairman, if there's nothing else, I look forward to hearing some insightful thoughts as we share with Chairman Carlo and Kiwanian Marlon on their Kiwanian journey, and a little bit more about these Kiwanians. So I hand back the chair to the president if he's here, if not DLG Willie to continue the meeting.
Thank you, VP Stephen. In the absence of LGE Desmond Batchelor, who is going to bring Kiwani's education tonight, I'm just going to read a short article taken from the standard form for the club bylaws and policies. And it has to do with members. It's Article 2:1. Adults of good character and good community standing may be submitted to membership in the club by invitation or by transfer from another Kiwani's club upon a majority vote of the board. Members in good standing are entitled to all rights and privileges of the club. To be in good standing members are obligated to pay the dues and fees provided in club policy and comply with any other criteria provided by club policy. Members not in good standing may be suspended or removed by no less than a majority vote of the board of directors, 14 days previous notice of such pending action shall be provided to the member. The member will have the right to appear to present his case to the board on or before the meeting at which action will be determined. A member may resign by submitting written notice to the club. Any member who resigns or has been removed from club membership forfeits all interest in any club funds or property and all rights to use any Kiwani's marks. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, that's Kiwani's education to this evening. Maybe a lot of us know it, but for the benefit of the new Kiwanians, that it comes from the club standard form for club bylaws and policies. At this point, I'm going to turn over the meeting to Chairman, Distinguished President Stuart Spencer, to lead us into the main event. Over to you, DP, sir.
Thank you, DLG Willie. May I ask everybody else to mute their mics, please? Thank you very much. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, first of all, let me apologize. There was a little bit of technical difficulties. I think I know why, and I'll accept responsibility, but I think no, because I wasn't being heard, but I've set up another device, so I'm now being heard and seen. Okay, this evening is another segment. It's about 8 weeks or 2 months since the last time we did it, and that's about the average that we like to do it, where we're gonna have another segment of up close and personal. This evening we have two Kiwanians, two relatively new Kiwanians. One is Chairman Carlo Mason, and the other is Kiwanian Marlon Martin. Now, I'm not gonna introduce them because the subject of their presentation is to tell us about themselves. So there's no need for me to overlap in that particular area. And Carlo doesn't know this yet, but I did decide that I would ask him to go first. So Chairman Carlo, are you ready? It's your time. Over to you.
DP Stuart, I should have probably told you that. Seeing that I'm a lawyer, I like to go by precedent, so I like to have somebody go before me. But I'll work with what you're giving me.
Okay, I'm glad it.
Good evening, everyone. It is a privilege to be here with you in 2023. Let me wish you all a happy new year. Let me also wish my somewhat fellow celebrant, Jennifer Daly, my condolences in her loss, but that I hope that that the pain will ease as time goes. I suppose I need to simply tell you who I am. First of all, my name is Carlo Antonio Mason. So as you can rightly tell from my first two names, I'm Sicilian. I was born in Kingston in 1972, my word. Now that I think about it, that's the same year that Billy Paul sang his song, Me and Mrs. Jones. So tells us it's been a while. I attended St. Richard's Primary, had the privilege of being part of the school choir that was conducted and led by the esteemed Lloyd Hall. And I also had the privilege of also being educated at Campion College. As I mentioned before, I'm married to Carlo Mason. And I also mentioned that Friday will be 21 years of, I won't say blissful wedding life, but certainly great wedding life. Let me leave it at that. I have 2 boys as a result. Their names are Kyle and Kurt. They are 16 and 12 and go to Knox and Arden, respectively. I am privileged to still have both parents alive and kicking, both in their 80s. My father doing most of the kicking, and one sister who I think it's DP Willesey, DP Paul Willesey, who may very well be near you. She actually lives in Fairburn, which is just outside of Atlanta. I have been for the last 24 years called to the Jamaican Bar, privileged to be part of the fraternity of attorneys here. But I will confess that the bulk of that professional time has been spent outside of Jamaica. I lived for a number of years in Belize, and in fact, I have been called to the Belize Bar since 2005. And it's only when I was preparing for this that it hit me that I've been a member of that bar for some 17 years. My word, I'm getting old. My occupational history has been somewhat varied in that when I first left law school, I went to work at a place called Quality Mix Limited. Those of you in Kingston are familiar with the Aventura Apartments, right by where Jamaica Baptist Union has their headquarters, right near to Calabar. I am proud to say that I was one responsible for getting that subdivision done. It was one of my first ever efforts as an attorney. But that only lasted a year. I then went on to work for about 4 years at Kingston and St. Andrew Family Court. And from there, I went to Belize, where I became a member of the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions. So I did everything from, I prosecuted everything from gun possession to rape to murder to what have you. That only lasted a couple of years, and I then went into the private field, managing for about 6 years a company in the offshore services industry. And from there, I actually went on to a law firm, all of this in Belize. Even worked at a bank there. And when my wife got an opportunity to move to the Turks and Caicos, I then looked for and found a job there. So sometimes you have to follow the wife, you know. So I became a member of the Director of Public Prosecutions Office in Turks and Caicos. I then left from there and went to the Supreme Court Registry, where I served as Senior Deputy Registrar for about 5 years. However, during that time, I noted that my father, who is now almost 82, had slowed down a bit, and I took the conscious decision that I needed to come back home and help him run his garment factory, Laurelou Enterprise Limited, tailoring your needs, so that he could semi-retire at the very least. So I am here in Jamaica while my father is sitting at home, living the life of the idle rich, as I like to say. Very quickly, where I was told that I could talk a little bit about the type of hobbies I have or recreation that I have. Some of you are aware that I am a musician. I play the violin. I've played the violin for about 43 years. I'm an avid fan of the NFL, so don't disturb me on a Sunday. I'll be watching. I also love cars. So you and I can have a discussion when it comes onto motor vehicles on the road. Those are the things that I have interest in. I do have other areas of interest. I should say that I am fluent in Spanish. I had the opportunity of living for 1 year on a student exchange program in Venezuela. Well, that's some 30 years ago, but thankfully it has stuck with me. And Venezuela is one of the places that I've had the privilege of visiting. Like many of us have visited the USA and Canada. But like I told you, I had a chance to live in Belize, where I lived for 11 years. I studied in Guyana, in Barbados. I've been able to visit a few other places. The only continent that I haven't had the privilege of visiting, actually 2 continents, is Australia and Africa. And I plan to rectify that one day. In terms of my mentors, I would have to say that my father has perhaps been my greatest mentor. I strive to be as cool-headed and smooth as he has been. Not sure if I'm doing such a good job of that, but hey, I'm still a work in progress. For me, family is most important. I took a decision that I would always be present for my children, and I've tried to live my life accordingly. My desire to serve God also motivates me. I'm a practicing Seventh-day Adventist. I've been so for about 40 years, and I'm blessed that God continues to be in my life and continues to guide my life. And I encourage anyone who may be searching for some meaning to life to look to God to be the author and finisher of your faith. I know some people don't like to talk about faith, so I won't dwell on it. I think I've said enough on that point. I like to serve, and actually one of the things that drew me to Kiwanis was me visiting the feeding of the poor on a Saturday morning with my father, with DP Willie, where I think DP Stewart was there as well, Junior Stewart, that is. And I was touched by the efforts that were made. And then my father asked me to lead out in devotion. which I did. And I've been part of it ever since. I count it a singular privilege to do so. I also, I have to tell you, this is a little awkward for me. I don't really like to speak about myself much. I try to remain very humble and not really toot my own horn, because I've found my experience in life has shown me that life throws too many curveballs to live a puffed up existence. But I am grateful for what God has given me. I tend not to have too many friends, although I have many acquaintances, because also life has taught me that that can often go bad. So there's a saying that I have learned, which kind of sums up how I live my life. And it goes that I try to be sucker free in a world full of lollipops. So that in essence is Carlo Mason. I hope I haven't rambled on for too long. And I hope that that is of some interest to you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlo. I did learn quite a few things. That I didn't know that you are a violinist, and we have to create an opportunity for us to hear you play. I don't know how we're gonna work that out, but I'm gonna work on that, because it surely would be a pleasure for us to hear. I don't think there's anybody else in the club who has 45 years playing a violin. So, I'm sure that would be something special. Thank you, Carlo. We at the end, after the two persons have presented, we do open the floor a little bit for anybody who might have a question. We don't make it too interrogative, but somebody might have had. But let me ask you this one though, just to kind of you went to Campion. You didn't mention anything about sports. Just give me an idea. Did you get involved in sports at any time?
You're not a nice man. You're really showing up my inconsistencies here. No, I didn't. I wasn't a sportsman. Love sports, but I wasn't a sportsman. I dabbled with a little badminton and a little schoolboy football, but I never represented at Manning Cup or anything of that nature. No Sunlight Cup, nothing like that. So unfortunately, nothing to report there.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, fellow Kiwanians and guests, it's time for us to move on to our second presenter. And let me just mention this. Oh, sorry. I think you covered that when you mentioned Hanover Street about your dad. Yes, our second presenter is Kiwanian Marlon Martin. He joined the club fairly recently. I mean, I think it's less than a year or just about a year. But he will tell you about his story, because you might have picked up from some of the previous dialogue that he's actually now stationed outside of Jamaica, but is home now. So we thought we would just grab a hold of him and let him share his story with us. Marlon, it's your time.
Even Kiwanians, you're seeing my screen, DP Stuart?
Yes, I'm seeing your screen.
All right, so when I saw Carlo present, I was wondering if I did too much and in terms of putting together 5 or 6 slides. My story is it's more about inspiration and where I'm coming from to where I'm at now, but with a lot of gratitude and Christ in it. I did grow up, I grew up in the church. My parents are ministers of religion, as well as my siblings. All my siblings are pastors. And I don't want to ask what happened to me, except me. I'm a procurement practitioner. as such. So I grew up in a time, not 1972, but 1984, just after Bob Marley died, and just before the Great Gilbert struck Jamaica. And to the left, you'd see where we were brought up on Mountain View Avenue, which is just in front of Jake's Road. So we spent a lot of the times hearing a lot of gunshots fired throughout Mountain View. It was one of the roughest period, I'd say. It was Jake's Road, Backbush, Warwick Hill, all the bad communities you can think about was what happened. My parents have 6 of us. There are 6 kids. There are 5 boys, 1 girl, but we say 7 because I have a cousin that grew with us all the time through. So there are 7 of us. I attended the Rollington Town Primary School. And at the time I attended the Rollington Town Primary School, I thought I was the brightest that attended the school at the time. I passed for the Wolmer's Boys School, where I realized that I was no more than just far from being bright. I think that's one of the difficult stages as well, because you meet upon people that are 10 times brighter than you. So if you were the top of your school, you were way down in the bottom, no matter how hard you try. So a colleague of mine over the years told me that they're high achievers and they're natural achievers. I think I fall in the high achievers because I had to work twice as hard to achieve it. But I didn't get there by myself. A lot of it is through inspirations. And one of them is my brother, Nigel Martin. He taught me how to read from an early age, and it is the Bible that he would have taught me through. He's now the head of the New Testament Men's Fellowship, and I think he's pastor in Morant Bay New Testament, but he taught me how to read. So I was very slow. I could not speak. I was shy. I was everything, and each brother was paired with a younger one. So each elder brother had to take on a younger sibling. So I was paired with him. And he would have been my first inspiration and my mentor throughout my development and going along. Then I met this guy, Garfield Hogarth, at the New Testament Church. He took us on as kids because we were six boys running up and down Mountain View Avenue, up and down the avenue and through and through. And this gentleman at church, he's a former Scotiabank manager as well. He took us on at church and he would have given us the basic foundation. Christianity. He was also my Sunday school teacher, and he would have instilled a lot of values. And I'm going to take a little backtrack. So my parents, based on where we're living in Mountain View, they had decided to migrate to England for a period. So we didn't grow up with parents. We grew up with helpers and aunts and communities helping out, as well as my aunt and uncle going to the market for us. So we were just little kids in the house, but we were well looked after with the help of my aunt and other family members who would pass by or will go and look for. Now, getting through Wolmer's Boys was one of those moments that I will always remember. My first project I did at Wolmer's Boys, a teacher at the time, Mr. Sankofa, pulled me away when I did my first project, which is with the Arawaks. I thought I did the greatest project. And this history teacher pulled me one side and said to me, Marlon, you're going to suffer at Wolmer's because you need to get to the standard of the boys' school. So even if I was getting 87, I was still number 35 in the class because everybody at Wolmer's got 90, 98, and 99. So you can imagine I was going through a rough time, but I made it to the end of Wolmer's Boys' 5th form in the 01 class, and I went on to the 6th form group. Now, in my inspirational journey, I had multiple inspiration. Miss Rob, who was my acting principal at the time, Douglas Sorain and Katie Knight. So Miss Rob saw me as a young man in the school, and she pulled me out because I staged a number of walkout. And she believed that if I could I'll ask all the boys to walk out on a class. That means I had the ability to lead. So she turned me into student council to curb my behavior at an early age. Douglas Sorain took us on as young mentor at the school, and he would have provided the well-needed guidance required for us. And through this, and I'm going to say God know at this point, in everything I give thanks. And God always put you at a point where you're always at the right point at the right time. So when I left sixth form, I was unable to attend UWI at the time. My parents, my eldest brother was at college, all my siblings were at college, and I didn't get student loan, and my parents told me to sit out a year. But luckily on this particular day at school, I was at the right place. Sad that I was going you with all my other colleagues. And the acting principal, Miss Rob, saw me under the mango tree, orange tree, crying, and asked me to escort some Woolmerian around the school. And one such Woolmerian was the Honorable KD Knight. And I was telling him my story, and he took me on that day as a mentor, took me on as a mentee, and he would have given me my first job, as well as right after I started with him, Grace Kennedy had called me to say Douglas Sorain had recommended me for a job there to build mentorship as well as to lead. But I decided to stay with KD Knight since I'd started. And KD Knight would have been the father figure, as well as he would have been one of those who would have invested in my future. Both monetary, both in every way form. He was there, and I will always appreciate him and Douglas Sorain and my mentors. So these are the 5 persons who would have taken me from where we were to where I'm at now. I am married. I've been dating my wife since high school. So we are from 2001 to now. So her name is Kiwanian Martin. So we go far, far back as we can. So she's there for all the success and everything that happens. So she has always been there for me. I completed my degree in 2015. I only went back to school because I thought it would have been, my daughter was born 2011. And I thought to myself, I do not want my daughter to say, Daddy, but you achieved all these things and I can do it too. So I went back to school to show her that, look here, you have to go to school to get the basic foundation or the basic knowledge. So I got through UWI 2015, and then I completed my MBA 2018, and my daughter is to the right. She was at both graduation, which is very good. And she would have been my inspiration at that time, along with the support of the wife. So my journey, taking a little step back into my work life as well, it would have been the foreign ministry being the first place I'd have worked in various capacity. And at the end of my tenure, I decided to branch off into procurement. So I joined a project not knowing what procurement was, but I was given the opportunity to head a division with the expansion of cement plant. And I taught myself procurement on the job because somebody gave me 3 months to prove that I am able to get the job done. So I joined and I took the time to work with cement and Kill 5. So the plant there now was, I was the procurement practitioner for that plant and the expansion of it. In completing that organization, I went on to the international organization, PAHO, and I would have joined CFNI, which is under the PAHO WHO brand. And being in that organization, I was hoping that I would have stayed with them forever, but the organization would have closed down at the time. And during that period, 2011, 2013, I went back to UWI and studied. So that's how I ended up completing in 2015. I joined the Ministry of Energy in 2013, and I would have stayed with them through the IDB and then went on to NCB, which is where I believe I'd have learned a majority of what I'd have learned in terms of support. So this takes you through the journey of where I am and what happened to me. And I'm now in Barbados as a senior officer with responsibility for USAID, Global Affairs Canada, CDB, as well as the restocking of the warehouses when there's a disaster in Jamaica. I lecture a course at the UWI Mona campus, and I also work along with some consulting firms across the world in my spare time. My family life, I have a daughter, Abigail Martin. She attends Arden Prep. She's in grade 6 doing PEP now. My wife and my son, Mark Anthony, he was born August last year, 2022, and they would have been the inspiration as well going on. Now, from when we first saw the group standing up on the step on Mountain View, this is now the group. So these are all my siblings. All would have achieved extraordinary in their field. And so I think there's only two persons that are still living in Jamaica. Everybody lives outside and work outside of Jamaica. But this is where a lot of my priority lies, in my first family, my immediate family, then my extended family is where it is. In terms of my recreation and motivation, I love to work out. I love to hike. These are the things that I do. And in terms of high school, I would have played cricket for Wolmer's boys, as well as I'd have played rugby at the school at the time. And a lot of what I believe in, or motivation, is Christ being the center of it all, and the support of family, and a lot of gratitude for where I'm coming from and where I'm at now in terms of life, from the life of Mountain View to something much different and experiencing the world at a different level. So I've done work in Canada, and I'm now working in Barbados, and I'm looking for the global exposure, probably Europe next, for the next steps in my career as well as family life. And this is where it ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlon. I was just putting, unmuting my mic. Well, you really have been around, and you did it so easily. I remember you expressed some concern about, not being comfortable doing this kind of thing, but you seem quite comfortable to me. It makes me wonder why you even had any doubts. But thank you very much for sharing with us. It was a pleasure listening to you and also to Carlo. And at this point, let me open the floor and see if there are any members of our audience who would, like to ask you any follow-up questions, or, the floor is open, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kiwanians. Who would like to go first?
I will go then, since nobody wants to.
Okay, go ahead.
Question for Carlo. Without giving away any detail, what was the most difficult case you prosecuted?
What's this now? 2004, there were 3 men who were charged with murder in Belize. They went in on an old man and literally beat him to death with a crowbar. And they had a 4th fellow who was a lookout. And when all 4 of them ran, that lookout jumped right literally into the arms of a security guard who was nearby, who held on to him and accosted him. it was basically myself as a young attorney going up against 3 of Belize's best criminal defense lawyers. And well, even though unfortunately the Privy Council ended up throwing out the case, I did get a conviction. I still to this day believe that the conviction was the right way to go, but Privy Council disagreed with me on that. But that, I think, proved to be the most difficult case that I ever had. Yeah.
Carlo, no, since you mentioned the situation in Belize and also, you know, based on the question from Roy about the crime situation, I remember we had a guest speaker maybe about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, a Dr. Herbert Gale, and he had indicated to us that he had done some work for Belize or in Belize on their crime situation. I don't know if you have any knowledge of that, or were you, I was just wondering if you connected since you're in that field.
The name sounds familiar, I will confess. I'm just not putting a face to it. I can't say that I have more to add.
Okay.
No.
Nothing. That's all right. That's all right. Okay. Anybody else wants to throw in another question?
I could go again.
Go ahead, Roy.
Oh, Carlo,
I think something's in the chat. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Somebody had dropped something in the chat.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Roy. I'll check the chat in the meantime.
Yeah, Carlo, which NFL team you back? And with the Buffalo incident, what do you think about the quote unquote roughness of the game?
Well, I've always, actually, it's the roughness of the game that attracted me to it initially. When I always try to explain to my wife that the NFL is the perfect mix of physical prowess and unadulterated violence. And sadly, well, actually, it's gotten better now. You remember back in the day when Lawrence Taylor tackled Joe Theismann and broke his leg. That was a horrific accident. It's gotten better. They've dealt with concussions to some degree, but it's a work in progress. But when you have the immovable object colliding with the unstoppable force, you're going to have serious problems. I didn't get to watch the game with the Bills. I did see the clip, and I'm glad that they took the time to stop the game. I'm glad for that, because at least it shows that they have some regard for human safety. Far too often the NFL is viewed as a money-hungry league. But yeah, they did put humanity first, and I'm glad for that. I'm sure it's not lost on them that they need to save face from time to time. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody did put in the chat that they wanted to hear a little bit about the Kiwani's experience, but they didn't identify which one they were referring to. I'd prefer some of the person in the chat, just speak up. They can come on, just open the mic and we'll allow them to speak.
Good evening, it's Marlon. I only heard Marlon and I heard of his other experiences, so I wanted to hear a little more of his Kiwani's experience. Thanks.
But what I'll jump in and say is that Marlon actually ended up migrating, well, call it a semi-migration then, shortly after he joined the club, but he did do some projects before he left. Marlon, you want to add anything to that question?
Yeah, man, I'd love to jump in at it. Hi, Janet, DP Janet. The experience so my experience with Kiwani started back in the foreign ministry with Paul Peart, IPP Paul Peart. He was encouraging from an early stage out to join, and I was always enthused about the work Paul was doing at the time. So when the opportunity came along and Paul became the president of the Kiwani's Club, I thought it was an opportune time for me to join. When I joined, I was able to partake in two other projects at the latter part of the year before, which was the Christmas caroling, which I absolutely loved. And trust me, the DP Janet, I tried my best to make it out for Christmas caroling this year. However, I got into Jamaica late on the 24th and I ended up sleeping through the morning. So I didn't get to go to a second project, but I've sought out the clubs in Barbados, which I want to continue doing work along with the Kiwani's Club in Barbados as well. But the experience so far is good and I am enjoying it. I do charity work otherwise, because my daughter has a charity that we support annually, and I do work along with the church as well. So the Kiwani is just another platform for me to continue doing work and contributing to the society.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, I think we have time for one more, and then we call it a wrap. So is there anyone who wants to just get in that last question? Okay. Sorry, I'm hearing a feedback, but I know it's not your fault. It's something at my end. Okay. Let me just say thank you to both Chairman Carlo and Kiwanian Marlon. It has indeed been a pleasure for us all to be able to get to know you guys a lot better. I mean, I now understand why Marlon asked me about something. It had to do with procurement, and I mentioned that we had a guest speaker a couple of months ago, Dr. Eric Deans, I think, who presented on the logistics hub. And so if you wanted any contact on that, because I've shared something in our chat, if you want any contact information on him, I'll be happy to give it to you. So at this point, thanks again, guys. It's, you know, we are these meetings, we always enjoy them, and we hope our audience did as well. So it's back to, did President Junior get back on? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I am
okay. Okay. President Junior, back to you.
Yes. And thank you, DP Stewart. It was certainly a very interesting, to say the least, of story on both of these young gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Chairman Carlo and Kiwani Marlon Martin. And at this time hello?
Sorry.
I was saying thank you. Yes. And I'm saying I had the privilege to hear you playing the violin, and I commented on it, which means you're doing quite well. Yes, I had the privilege to hear you play it. Yes, so we now move to the vote of thanks.
No, there's no separate vote of thanks.
Oh,
we don't, you know, what
yeah,
I did was cover that.
Okay, good. Thank you, DP Stewart. We'll move then to our Sarge. Chairman Zoe.
I wasn't able to speak at the time, but he did send in an apology. He did send in an apology and asked me to put it in for him. But at the time, my mic wasn't working, so I couldn't communicate that.
Yes,
right.
I was having a serious problem up front as well. Okay. So the Sarge, I'll just ask each member at this point in time to pay a $200 fine. Is that okay? A blanket fine of say $200, okay? For the beautiful presentation and very interesting presentations that we have this evening. So I'd ask everyone to pay $200. Notices and announcements and interclubbing opportunities.
Thank you, President.
Yes.
Before I bring notice and announcements, I was remiss. I did hear my good friend Paul with Leslie bring greetings early on.
Okay.
He mentioned he was a member of the first online club in Jamaica.
Yes.
Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Jamaica. Regarding announcements, on Monday evening, we are going to have our board meeting at the Secretariat.
Okay.
Starting at 7 o'clock. So I need to bring that to the attention of all the board members. I will be circulating the minutes and the agenda during the course of this week and advising them.
Yes.
In terms of ECNC District Convention, registration is now open. Anybody that wants to go to District Convention this year, I will be circulating tomorrow the notice from ECNC. Regarding the clubbing opportunities, tomorrow evening we have options. We have Kiwani's Club in New Kingston, and they all meet. They're now meeting face-to-face at the Police Officers Club at 6 o'clock. We also have St. Andrews Southern Professionals Online. They meet at 7 o'clock. And then on Thursday, we have an invitation from Kiwani's Club of North St. Andrew to attend their meeting at 6:30. Those are the announcements and interclub opportunities I have at this time, President. You may want to invite other clubs to make an announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Deirdre, Willie. And I'll now ask other clubs that are on if there's any announcement or notice that you'd like to do. Make it very, very brief, but you can now do it as quickly as possible. Any notices and announcements?
President Stewart?
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm good. I just want to announce that P.E. Lettner did surgery on her back and she's recuperating wonderfully. She's in the hospital.
Okay.
Okay.
We really missed her this evening.
Yes, she'll be out for a while.
Okay. Sorry to hear.
Okay.
Yes.
He's
just let you know, President Junior.
Yeah?
I will.
Yeah. We just like to wish her speedy recovery.
Great.
I did send a WhatsApp message to DP Lettner yesterday, wishing her speedy recovery. It's going to be a long journey, but she has good faith, and she always thanks the Kiwanians for remembering her during her illness.
Sorry, really sorry to hear. Okay, so we'll move to the next item then. We'll come back to you, DP Stewart, with the thought for the week.
Okay, thank you, President Junior.
Yes.
My first one is a very short one. It says the longest distance between 2 points is a shortcut.
not a straight line necessarily.
And my second one, and this has no relation to our subject this evening, but it's a quote from John Maxwell. If you want to impress people, talk to them about your successes. If you want to impact people, talk to them about your failures. And that's my second quote. It's a John Maxwell quote.
Okay.
Thank you, President.
And thank you for those quotes as well. Very interesting. Okay, is there anything else we'd like to discuss very quickly? Anything else burning issue?
There's one thing I wanted to add, and because I had mentioned this before, but I just wanted to give a little shout out to IPP Paul, who has continued to attend our meetings from Japan. I noticed he was on earlier. I'm assuming he might still be on, but we are glad to have you continue to be with us, and I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Yes. Thank you, DP Stuart, and thank you, IPP Paul. We look forward to having you at our weekly meeting, and we have been noticing that you have been on quite frequently. So thank you again. Okay, we move to the point of termination now. If there's nothing further to discuss, I now call this meeting after Kingston terminated. We'll now at this point raise our glasses to Kiwanis International and the Jamaican land we love. I see your glass, Willie. So to Kiwanis International and Jamaican land we love. This meeting is now stand terminated. Thank you. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Carl, I look forward to hearing you play the violin again.